Everybody stand up, please. Let's go ahead and say the pledge of allegiance. Start with prayer. Ready? Chief Doctor, brother.
Shall we pray? Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and for the blessings. We thank you for this group that has taken on the duties of being the council for the city of Clinton. We pray that you be with them as they make their decisions as to how the city is operated, and especially in our water situation at this time. Father, we pray that you will provide us some moisture, if it be your will. Guide, guard, and direct us. In Jesus' name.
Real.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next meeting is a little bit different in a few ways. First, we're going to start off with a public hearing. Steve, I'm going to explain this.
Council, the address of 10,307 North Airport Road is asking for a de-annexation. They have gone to Planning and Zoning Board, and the recommendation is to grant that. Now a hearing in front of you.
The recommendation of the planning and zoning is to go on DNX there.
Correct.
Any comments up here from the audience?
It's a first.
Yeah.
First time I've heard it.
Someone come.
Is there a benefit to the city providing the annexation?
Increased rates on utilities are received.
What, did they give a reason for requesting a de-annexation?
You sit right here.
I'm Joe Zerby. This is my wife Sandra. We recently bought the property. We've lived out in the country all of our lives. We prefer to live in the country, and we did not want to be annexed. We did all of our own work and so forth. I mean, there's no really reason other than that, but we just would like to be annexed.
There's a lot of houses in this part of town, obviously. And Lisa, how many houses in this part of town are actually annexed?
On Airport Road, there are two.
Oh, yeah, all of them.
This will leave one.
Grand scheme of someone else. Any other comments? We have a motion to go ahead and let Mr. Zerby de-annex. Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
That was just a hearing.
I was out there, so when he comes back out. Okay, let's go ahead and start the meeting. Now open regular meeting of the hospital, recreational, and industrial authorities. Now consider a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Trustee Huber?
Yes.
Trustee Semaine? Trustee Lowry?
Yes.
Trustee Rodo?
Yes.
And Chairman.
Yes. Trustee report, or action items, if we don't have any. Trustee reports involving these particular authorities. Anybody here? City manager report, Steve.
None of these authorities.
Audience participation regarding these particular authorities specifically. Hearing none, consider a motion to adjourn meeting regarding these authorities.
I'll move we adjourn those authorities. Second.
Trustee Huber?
Yes.
Trustee Rodo?
Yes.
Trustee Lowry?
Yes.
Trustee Semaine?
Yes.
And Chairman.
Yes, ma'am. Other boards authority agenda. Now consider a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Trustee Huber?
Yes.
Trustee Rodo?
Yes.
Trustee Semaine?
Yes.
Trustee Lowry?
Yes.
And Chairman.
Yes. Action item A. Consider proposal and agreement with Severn Trent regarding design, build, finance, and operate, maintain water treatment plant.
The council would like to introduce its shop with Severn Trent, working with the companies CES, Flintco, Burns and McDonald, Oklahoma Water Group. You know, they've presented an option that we believe is a very, very viable and expedient option to resolve our water issues. I'd like to turn it over to Ed. He has a walk you through a quick summary, and the audience can also be caught up and answer questions potentially on this proposal.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I appreciate the opportunity to stand in front of you. As Steve said, my name is Ed Schwab, and I'm with Severn Trent Environmental Services. And I actually stood in this same spot about 4 years ago when we first formed this partnership. and I spoke to your predecessors, and I made a commitment to y'all that we would represent you in your water and wastewater needs. And I'm very proud of Jeremy Brush, our project manager here, and how he's represented us and worked real hard with y'all. When the city manager first came to me several months ago describing the issues you were facing with your water sources, difficulty in finding water sources, difficulty in approaching how to solve those issues, I went back to my company and we started working real hard on identifying the best way to attack that problem. We have existing relationships, we have a lot of partners that we've brought to bear, and you have the proposal, you have the contract in front of you, you have a handout that kind of summarizes it all. So I'm not going to try to repeat all that, but I am going to try to highlight some of it and answer any questions you may have. Mary, you want to
Yes, sir.
proceed? The agenda is I just want to describe the team that we have. I'm going to keep looking up here. What the problem is, we all know what the problem is, but I want to outline it a little bit, talk about finding the solution, and how we want to approach that and solve the problem with a true partnership. The team obviously is the city of Clinton. Y'all are in charge. This is your problem for us to work together to solve on. In our partnership, you are on top of the pyramid. And one of the things that we really want to do that we're going to talk about is give you all control over how this process proceeds. Severn Trent Services, as you know, we've been your partner for a long time. We're not engineers, we're not constructors, we're operators. And again, we represent your interests in solving this problem. Oklahoma Water Service Company, I've worked with Stan Ferraro for about the last 6 or 7 years. They're the most reputable, conservative, one of the largest water companies in the country, and probably more to the case. As we worked through identifying additional partners for this, we were introduced to Flintco and CAS, a member of the Alvarisi family of companies, and we talked to them about engineers, and they said we've worked real well the last several years on 20 design-build projects with Burns and McDonnell. So we feel together, we put together the dream team, the A-team, a team of the industry's best, people that know how to solve problems like this every day, people that work together for several years. I'm personally and professionally excited about this team and the things that we can bring to you. All right? Well, as we know, the problem is a diminishing surface water reliability. Both Clinton Lake and Foss Lake are down significantly. Clinton Lake is at the level of emergency use only, and Foss is dropping daily. And there's several complex solutions. The combination of surface water and groundwater, what are the treatment options of that water when you pull it out of the ground. And when you interact surface water with groundwater, there's chemistry issues on how they interact together. So you can't just look at one thing. And you want to have a true portfolio of water solutions so that you're not always dependent on just one. As we develop solutions and as conditions change, you want to have the option of going with the best water, the cheapest water, the most effective solution so that you don't find yourself in the same situation down the road. Of course, we've got to control the cost. At any given time, you want to use your most cost-effective water on a daily basis and be able to switch back and forth. But there really is no choice. We have to do something. We can't just sit and wait for rain. We can all pray for it, and we do, but waiting for it isn't the option. Next slide. So what we brought together is a multidisciplined team. It's still a public-private partnership, just like what we've been doing. It's just designated to attack the specific issue like a laser. We have operations, engineering, hydrology, construction, and financing, all focused on finding the best solution for you. And we're going to look at all the water options. Doesn't make any sense just to look at a well or look at a partnering community. We're going to look at all of them, and we're going to find the best water solution for you. We want you to have control of it, so we've developed a two-phased approach. Right? Phase one, and I'm not gonna go into all the details of every step. You have this in the agreement, and each one of these bullet points has about 10 tasks underneath each one. It's a very comprehensive approach to looking at every possible solution. We've also identified 2 additional things that need to be done because of that water chemistry issue of mixing surface water with groundwater with some other water. We have to hydraulically model your distribution system to figure out the pressures it can handle and where the water is going to mix and how it's going to mix. And then also the golf course well. I understand that needs some repair in order to properly test it and see how much water we can get out of it. So we've included those tasks. We've included what we believe is everything needed to come up with what we're calling phase 2. All right. Phase 1 is going to develop a guaranteed fixed cost for the solution. That's what all the work is. Phase 1 you have to do no matter what you do, no matter how you do it, you have to figure out what to do first. So phase 1 is getting to that point, but what we're going to do is extra in coming up with a guaranteed fixed price on that solution, because we have all the people on the team to do that. People that have worked together and people that have done this before. The initial water rate, per thousand, we're going to guarantee that rate. Come up with a very simple number and say, here's what it's going to cost to get clean water on a guaranteed basis. And we want you to have control of phase 1. If you choose to go to phase 2 with us, we can roll those costs into the long-term cost of the project. And that'll be your option. You can go to phase 2 and still pay for phase 1. Anything you choose. So that'll be your option. Upon acceptance of phase 2, we're going to proceed with implementing it. And because the team has worked together before, because CAS and Burns McDonnell have done 20 of these projects with no cost overruns, no change orders, we are confident that we can implement this in 12 to 18 months. Our goal will be to do it as fast as possible, and even maybe beat that. But we, again, still want you to have control. We don't want you to be in a situation where 10 years from now you're maybe not happy with the solution and you don't like the fact that somebody else owns it. We're going to give you options to buy the facility. Something you don't have now. We want you to have control. We want the rates to be regulated by a third party. We don't want you to be worried that we're just going to be out there willy-nilly charging you whatever we want. It'll be controlled. Oklahoma Water Services is the very experienced regulated utility that all of their projects around the country are controlled by third party. They have to justify any cost increase they have. So again, solving the problem. We're talking about design, build, finance, own, operate. And this graph shows pretty simply why that results in cost savings and effectiveness for you. Time is money. Partners that work together quickly. All this adds up to savings for you. Risk reduction. We're going to guarantee the cost. So if we miss something, it's ours. We don't come back to you for change orders. We tell you what it's going to be, and that's what it's going to be. It's the only solution that will give you that guaranteed fixed cost. One of the reasons the word political factors is up there is something that's going to be removed from the process. This is a technical issue. God created the solution a million years ago. Our job is to find it. And as councils change and as things influence decisions and popularity on different solutions come and go, that needs to be removed from the solution, because we're going to be doing this for a couple of years and we're going to be living with it for 20, 30, 40 years. We want to remove that and just make it a technical issue, and we will solve it for you. And again, the reduced costs and the faster delivery schedule. So, this is the last slide. Any questions at all? We're happy to answer.
I can ask one real quick. So previously, when we had these engineers and people come to talk to us about building our own facility, right, they would give us the timeline of 3 to 4 years once construction began. And now, you gave us a timeline of 12 to 18 months. How is that possible?
Two things happen in our model. One is we don't have to stop and put together an RFP or an RFQ at every step of the way. So every time you stop the process and go out for bids and go test the market and go look for contractors, that slows it down, and it doesn't result in any cost savings. This team has worked together before. This will be the team that designs it. This will be the team that builds it. The fact that they've done that 20 times together, they have a methodology of communicating, they know what each other's capable of, they trust each other. To be able to do this in a way that results in no change orders and no cost increases. So that cumulative effect is what compresses the time and saves the dollars.
So not one change order or time overrun in the 20 projects that like this that you've done in the past. And the 20 projects are comparable to the project that you may be proposing for us, is that correct?
I'm going to let one of these guys answer because they're the ones that worked on those projects, and I don't want to misspeak. So, John? Sure.
My name is John Mitchell. I'm with Burns & McDonnell, and I'm also a managing partner of the Burns & McDonnell and CAS joint venture. Our team has done about 20 projects in the water and wastewater industry. Those projects have ranged in size from $1 million or $2 million in scope to over $75 million in scope. So we have done a number of projects right in the size range. And if you kind of think about 20 projects, $250 million, a $10 or $11 million price tag is something that's right in the meat of that bell curve. Lots of projects that are bigger than that, a few projects that are smaller than that. And I think one of the real advantages here is that we have done that so many times. We've developed the protocols to do it. They're certainly repeatable. We've got a number of clients and a number of references that will tell you from the time they picked up the telephone and told us that they needed a wastewater treatment plant or a water treatment plant, that we've been able to design, build, commission, permit, have a plant in operation, and in several cases in 10 months or less. So a great deal of experience. And I think the other thing that's important here is a new dimension comes onto our team at Severn Trent with having the operations component right at the table with the designer and builder, so we can really tailor a glove fit to Severn and Trent's capability to operate the plant.
For everybody listening, could you state or list a few of the projects that you've done in the past, included in that 20?
Certainly, the largest project that we've done together, we finished about 18 months ago. It's a $75 million water treatment plant for the city of Wichita. That included a 60 million gallon a day river intake, a treatment plant that is sized for 30 million gallons a day for future expansion. It is an advanced process. We looked forward to a time when perhaps this plant would operate from multiple sources and even operate from a standpoint of water reuse from the wastewater treatment facilities. So that is one that's on the larger side. One that's kind of in the middle of the range at $25 million is a treatment plant that we just commissioned within the last 12 months at Edgerton, Kansas. That plant serves multiple cities. It's a regional solution to their treatment needs. And it also incorporates building and designing the infrastructure, the pipeline infrastructure that gets water to the plant to treat it. So it encompasses the entire range of services.
How about water quality? Like, so, there could be issues with our water quality, especially if you come back and suggest that we use the Ouachita alluvial water. Is there anything as to that quality, the potential quality of that water that gives you hesitation?
There is not. The treatment technologies that we're certainly familiar with include advanced treatment for things like VOCs and hydrocarbons for things like radioactive contamination, for things like nitrates and chlorides. The technologies that we're certainly used to and have implemented many times in the past will treat all of those. And in fact, some of those treatment technologies look forward to contaminants that aren't even regulated now. Things like pharmaceuticals or things like pesticides or other complex organics that can be in the water supply. So we'll certainly have that in mind as we select the appropriate process technology for the water quality that we'll be doing.
Good. Anybody else in here?
On phase one, is it not your indication that phase one can be completed within 90 to 120 days?
Yes, sir.
Is that unrealistic?
Not at all. In fact, we're hopeful that it might go even quicker. The reason we're not committing to a drop dead date is because what if the first 3 places we look is not a solution? We have to look at 37 other places. So our commitment in phase one is to do what's needed to get there and to report to you monthly on the status of that so that you're aware as we go of how it's going.
Probably need to report to us more than monthly.
You can do that. Jeremy lives here, I can give you his phone number.
But on your fee schedule,
Yes, sir.
this figure of $575,000 is a not to exceed figure. Is that correct?
It's a budgetary number. Our hope and desire is to come in under that. And if we start approaching that and feel like we're going to go over, we'll come to you and meet with you about that. The reason we didn't come up with a guaranteed maximum number is exactly what I just said, is what if we have to drill 37 wells to find the water? You don't want me, and it's not in your best interest, to guarantee the number for phase one.
I understand that, but it's not to exceed number.
We won't go over without your permission.
Right, but it could be significantly less.
Absolutely.
The thing that I was looking at, why are you thinking right now that we need to have the hydraulic model under the additional task? Wouldn't that be something we could wait on until we finish phase one if we chose to proceed?
The only problem with waiting is that's really something that most cities have already, and it's something you need. But in order to identify the best water solution, we need to know what the model is and how those waters will interact with each other. So we don't want to come up with a solution that's going to cause taste and odor problems or pressure problems. So we do feel you need that, and that's a deliverable product that you'll have. And everything that we do in phase one will be owned by you.
No,
So it looks like phase two is where the certainty begins.
Phase two is where you get a guaranteed fixed number and you can decide yea or nay on that.
And those additional tasks will help support the guaranteed number of phase two.
Absolutely.
You know, probably necessary, it sounds to me what you just said.
It is.
You know where you'll start?
Tomorrow.
So, yeah. Good. Okay. You know where?
Where?
Yeah.
Do you know where?
Yeah.
Where to start?
Yeah.
Sure.
I know John has some ideas.
You know, it's really a process of elimination. Where we start with is assembling all of the water data that you've had. Some you've had acquired by other engineers and other sources. Some exist at ODEQ, some exist at the OWRB. We'll assemble all of that data and map it.
Okay.
We'll put it into our database and start right there.
So you're not starting from square one? Not even.
Lots of data exists in different places. We got to pull it all together and then start eliminating areas and finding the most probable sources of water.
You're able to use the data that we've already compiled. And pay for it, right? Shoot it the other way.
You got it.
mentioned Wichita and the 60 million gallon influx of water coming from a river. That's not a challenge that we're faced with. How many of your 20 projects have had the challenges that we do in terms of not having water, knowing the sources we're going to get? What kind of experience there?
We can kind of break that into two areas. One is, Burns Mac is unique amongst engineering firms in that we have 5 or 6 hydrogeologists on staff at our organization. And we provide this kind of service for lots of communities all over the United States that are looking for water, that are looking for reliable sources of water. In addition to doing that for municipalities, we do it for power utilities, and we're doing it now for one of the largest nuclear power plants that's being built in the United States. So our hydrogeologists really have a lot of experience in locating the water, and a lot of experience in towns just like this in locating the water.
One example, and I like different stories and examples of things that have happened. Steve talked to me the other day about the idea of directional drilling, like you do in an oil field where you go down and get water from over there. And I'm a water operator, I'm a wastewater operator. I don't know that I want oil drilling for water. We got a water problem, but I've never heard of it. I'll see what I can find out. And I called John. And in the meantime, before he called me back, I just Googled the idea of directional drilling for water. And one of the first things that popped up was a white paper that explained everything I wanted to know about directional drilling for water. And the authors of this white paper were Burns McDonald employees. And when I did get a hold of John, he goes, "Oh yeah, that one lady that's listed there, she's on this team, working for you guys." So that's the kind of stuff that the horsepower brings us, is the ability to bring that to you.
Somebody else has to have more questions. Sylvie?
I have a couple. You know, we have, you've been involved, your company's been involved with our search and efforts previously. How did this, we spent 2.5 years, and how is this just now coming to be? I mean, how come Severn Trent hasn't stepped up in the last 2.5 years and said, this is the way we need to do this?
That's a good question. One of the things that happens is we're not engineers. So we're proud of the fact that we are flexible enough to work with any engineer you want us to. And as the owners of the facilities, you have choices and options that you make. And you went down a traditional path. The finding an engineer, trying to solve the problem, and figuring out, and then going out for bids to solve the problem, then going out for bids to build it. And when that pathway started not getting results, is when Steve came to me and said, you know, this is getting frustrating, we're poking holes there and there, we're not getting anywhere, can Severn Trent help? So once you came to me and asked, then we were able, and this solution took us months to come up with. We put a lot of work in behind this to identify the team, come up with the approach, and figure this out. So once we identified the problem that the traditional approach wasn't working, we came up with this.
You've also been in the operations portion of our water treatment facility. Lake has been offline for several years. What do you see as an operator at our facility? What is the liability of that particular facility? Your folks have been in there. They've been working in there since 2010 or 2010. What do you see as the viability of that particular facility?
Well, I'm going to let Jeremy speak a little bit about it because he's here every day. But we've talked about the option of utilizing the location of that facility and its dynamics of how it gets water 400 feet downhill to the city, and its location of having folks out there that need water, and where it is in relation to where we may find new water. So that is part of the solution we're gonna look at, including, and you didn't ask this, but including the value and options of utilizing wastewater effluent, either to offset your water demand or supplement this process. So we are looking at everything, but I'll let Jeremy talk about the plant specifically.
To answer your question, the water plant currently, at the current regulations, could more than handle the water that we have when we have it. And there's more than enough land out there to utilize it for other treatment options, if there is more water out there, say from Canoe or other locations. Currently, the facility needs some upgrades to the cooling link, but overall structure and stuff are in good shape.
And so, the overall structure is in good shape. It could use some upgrades. You're saying it could use some upgrades. What, and you just mentioned you like the location of that particular plant because of its elevation and certain other aspects. Is there some thought process of we've been talking about building this new reverse osmosis, new water treatment facility. Is that a potential location for that to happen?
It all depends on where we find the water. Now, Steve showed me the site where he did some geotesting up by the golf course, and there's some property there. And it's just going to come down to the math and the rocket science that the engineers do. Because if the water's here, it might not make sense to build a water plant way out there to pump it all the way back, or pump it up there and drop it back. So all of those things have to be looked at together. And there is really only one solution. We just need to find it. Whatever that is, we're going to find it, because there's lots of options out there.
Actually, I thought for some time that multiple sources.
Absolutely.
You know, we might utilize wells around the golf course for one time, certain. We also might utilize conduit water, which can go through that plant. And you know, I don't think we can have it. We need more than one and two sources of water. We need multiple sources.
Yes, sir. We agree.
We can't get ourselves in the position we're in right now.
Absolutely. In fact, we got some test well results from Canoe today that show that, you know, we can maybe get 1 million gallons a day from there. That's not enough, but it's a good part of our portfolio. That's where the water portfolio comes in. And
that's my
absolutely.
point. You know, but I think that, you know, if we get a 1 million gallons of water from them a day, certainly we can get a waiver from DEQ to get that pump into Clinton Lake without spending $1 million on a pipeline.
Well, and that's a very good point, because one of the things we want to look at, because every day we're getting closer to that day when we don't have water. So one of the things we want to look at is emergency solutions versus long-term solutions. So phase 2 might actually have 2 or 3 phases to it.
I'm seeing the audience have any questions.
We're behind that, right?
I think so.
Okay. We'll keep this short, okay, because there's a lot of people here.
I see up there,
Okay, again, please, keep it short. We could be here all day. Right? Okay. Audience, any questions for any of these guys up here? Any questions for us? Yes, sir.
Is there any possibility to get the state supervision or federal supervision on this to, you know, whether we're headed in the right direction with this, or?
Go ahead, Ed. You got that.
Somebody's got more knowledge than any of us.
That's why they're here. Yes, they
Well,
do.
somebody that doesn't have a horse in the race, you know, somebody that they can tell you, I mean, you know, this might be right, this might be wrong.
I think, I'll start off and then you finish. I think that we are here and we're in a desperate situation. Where's water, what are we gonna do? Because so far, we have left the decision-making authority up to government bodies. And I think that it's such an easy argument to make because it's true that governing bodies can work a lot and talk a lot and get nothing done. So the idea, going with these guys, with a private company, is that they do have a horse in the race, and their horse depends on finishing quickly and efficiently.
Well, I don't think their deal's a bad deal by any means, but do we have anybody that the city council can rely on to explain what these guys are telling them? Because I'm sure nobody up here is an expert at it, nobody in the room.
I think I can answer that a little bit by saying everything has to be permitted through DEQ. The state of Oklahoma will not permit them unless they feel like it's a valid direction. If they're talking about wells, the OWRB will be involved in that. Any construction, I think John can tell you this, they've done a lot of permitting with DEQ. DEQ will evaluate this plan before they can build it to review it. So I think there will be definitely some state oversight as part of their efforts.
I'm sure there's experts here in the state of Oklahoma that know about the water. I don't know if we've tapped into them or not, but there's somebody here in the state that knows far more than the people in this room do.
And that's a very good question. Everything we do, from the operators that have to be certified to run it, to the getting permits to build it, to getting permits for the well, we've already met with the ODEQ about this specific issue, and they are behind us 100% in wanting to, A, solve it, B, don't be a roadblock to it because they know we're in a hurry. And they're going to participate as part of our team. In fact, in hindsight, I probably should have put them on the org chart because we're going to work very closely with them. We operate for 9 communities in the state of Oklahoma. We've been here for 30-some years. We have a very good relationship with them. So you're exactly right. Somebody without a dog in this race, a horse in this race, is participating and going to be your watchdog.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Ed, Paul Brown. We've been at this all going on 4 years, and we don't have a drop of water flowing yet. And Councilman Rodolph mentioned the canoe situation,
Yes, sir.
1 million gallons a day. What would be the timeline on getting that as water until we get this plant built?
The short answer is I don't know, because I don't want to ever say something I don't know.
Okay.
But because of the priority and the idea that we need fast water first, Jeremy's already been working on it and communicating with them and getting test results from these wells. We already got preliminary permission from ODEQ to lay a pipe on the ground instead of putting it in the ground. We have the idea of running it through the existing treatment plant. There might be a need, and I was talking to Jeremy about this morning, there might be a need for a treatment process called ion exchange. And there's the possibility that if we don't need to own these things permanently, we could rent them, so we can get water as quickly as possible. When, I don't know, but as fast as possible is the best answer to you.
But you have a lot of different branches, right, Ed? Like you can be doing 2 things at one time. You can be looking at the canoe aspect of the possibility. Exactly, and then you can go drill wells, you don't look at canoe and then take a break and go drill wells. You can do everything at one time. It sounds like you've already started.
John's gonna be real good.
Yeah.
So phase 1 include the engineered report we need to fix the Clinton Lake treatment plant? It seems like it would be.
I don't know.
That's actually going to address
In the phase 1, we did include a condition assessment of the treatment plant, the Clearwell here in town and the high school pump station, so that we could start to get an understanding. When we put the phase 2 proposal together, what would have to be done there, what would have to be done at your Clearwell, what would have to be done at the high school pump station. So that condition assessment is included in the phase 1 effort.
And I know Jeremy's already done some work on getting bids for instrumentation and control replacement and some of the stuff that doesn't need engineers.
What happens if you come back with phase 2 and there's 4 or 5 things in here that say, this is what we think you need, and we say, gosh, we only like 4 out of 5 of them.
Well, we're done with you. You're gonna have the ability in phase two to buy in to all or part of it. We're not gonna bring you something that doesn't make sense. So if there's 4 parts, they're gonna make sense. I don't know what the 4 parts would be, so I can't say we can only do 3 of them if this is required. Yeah, you want us to build a treatment plant with no wells. Well, can't do that. But it's gonna make sense. And leading up to it, you're gonna understand where we're headed to, because we're gonna report to you regularly. Whatever regularly you require.
Jeremy's here, right?
We don't want to disappear and show up 4 months from now.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I would like for you to explain something about the funding. You said this is a private project.
Yes, sir.
What's the city obligating themselves for a signed use contract, and what's the total cost down just explain the financing of it.
Yes, sir. At this point, all we're seeking to do,
There it is.
this is our budget estimate for phase 1. So all we're trying to do is get agreement that we're going to go to phase 1 together. The result of this, the deliverable from this, is going to be a guaranteed fixed price and a fixed rate of water for whatever the solution is. Now, these are just budgetary numbers, and like I explained to the council member, you don't want us to guarantee this because we have to guarantee in case we have to go after 37 different wells. We believe this is a realistic budget. We believe this is a budget we can come in under. It's a budgetary number, and if we don't have to spend this, we're not going to. We're going to give a full accounting to the city of this amount as we go. And then at the end of phase 1, we're going to carry the cost. I'm not going to send one bill to the city during phase 1. At the end of it, we'll be done. We'll say this is what it costs. Here's the plan for phase 2. And you're going to get water for X number of dollars per thousand. Whatever we spend, the city can roll into phase 2, and we'll carry that over 20, 30, 40 years, whatever it is. Or you can say, we want to go with phase 2, but we'd rather not put that in the future cost. We'll just write you the check now and reduce the future cost. Or you can say, boy, we don't like anything you came up with, you can go away and just pay us for this. But you will get product out of this. You will get all the reports, all the engineering stuff. Everything that we've done in phase 1 will be yours. But this is all designed to go to phase 2. And we talked about the idea of guaranteeing this number. You wouldn't like it if we didn't guarantee it. So we're just going to manage that account together. Did that answer your question?
Not exactly.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What can I do?
You mentioned private. How does, when you say we, who is we?
This whole team here. We're all going to carry our own burden of this.
You're a private company?
Yes, sir.
It's going to be your project.
Yes, sir.
And if we like it, we can buy into it later.
If let's say you agree with phase 2, and I'm just going to pick a number. Let's say we're going to give you water for $5 a thousand gallons for the next 20 years. And we're going to build this plant and give you that water. 5 years from now, and I know this is an issue because it's been brought up to me that you're not happy not having control of FOS. So we want you to have control. We're going to be regulated and controlled by a third party. It's a state or whoever's going to make sure that our costs are in line. So you're going to have somebody without a dog in the race. And let's say 5 or 10 or 20 years from now, say, man, I'm really tired of that guy, Ed. I want to get rid of him. You can buy the plant. It can be yours.
But if we go forward tonight, in 90 to 120 days, you come back and say, hey, the city of Clinton, this is what I got. And this is what it's going to cost you. And in 12 to 18 months, you can turn on the tap and not have to worry about water anymore.
Correct.
So if we don't want to buy the plant, the only thing that's going to cost us is the price of the water?
Yes, sir.
We don't have to do anything.
You don't have to do anything. We're only talking about this.
One question. I think if we can clarify it, it'll help. When this thing first started, a year and a half, 2 years ago, we had figures from 18 million all the way to 30 million in terms of what it was gonna cost the citizens. And that, in terms of public opinion, it's still the most common question I get. How much are we gonna end up spending when all this is done? So put some light on that for all of us in terms of the initial cost to find what it's gonna take to solve the problem. We understand that. Explain the rest of the cost other than just how much a gallon we're gonna have to pay.
Can you go back?
Yeah.
2 slides where that graph, right there. The bottom is the conventional approach. Where you go out and get kind of a preliminary design, then you put together documents and bid it out and go through construction, and that's where you're stopping and bidding and starting and stopping.
How long does that take?
Well, you've gotten estimates of 4 to 5 years. So the top part of this is where we compress that, and because of our relationships, because of the fact that we're doing our own funding, if it's $20 million, we're gonna fund that. This all compresses down and results in savings to you. Again, one of the stories, simple examples are best. Burns and McDonnell has worked with CES so long that they know if they design a tank 2 feet smaller, they already have the forms for it, and that tank will be 1/3 of the price. In this bottom model, nobody knows that about each other because you're going out on the streets for bids. And you don't know what you're going to get, and you don't know that you're not going to get change orders, and nobody's guaranteeing the price. So even if they come to you with a $20 million price, it could end up costing you 22 or 25 million. With us, before you agree to phase 2, we're going to tell you it's going to cost exactly this, period, and you don't have to worry about it. And I'm confident, and Stan is confident, because these guys all work together, that we can buy off on that number. So we did a lot of work in building this thing for you.
Yes, sir.
Are you saying that if you end up spending $20 million to build a plant and pipelines and all the infrastructure, we're not going to owe that $20 million?
No, sir.
You're going to sell us water at so much per 1,000 gallons, and that payment for the water is going to pay off the $20 million.
Exactly.
You're going to finance it.
Yes, sir. In fact, you're not even buying the water. It's going to be your water, the way we're looking at it right now.
We're going to pay you for it.
You're going to run the water through our plant, we'll treat it for you and give it back to you cleaner.
Are we gonna have to pay anything for the water, for the raw water?
In the model that we're looking at now, it's going to be your water rights. So you're going to agree to send us 4 million gallons a day, and we're going to agree to treat it and send it back to you, whatever that number is. So in the future, you don't want us to have to guarantee the water source, because again, that'll cost you more. We're shifting the risk to us that makes sense.
Are we gonna have to buy the raw water that you're gonna treat?
Well,
From whoever.
Possibly, if you go to Canute.
If we go to Canute, we'll have to buy it.
You'll have to buy it from them.
But if we get it from, if we get it from Gulf Coast.
Or probably somewhere else.
What if in 5 years we find somebody that can treat it cheaper and we don't want your plant, or you treat it?
You can buy the plant back. But what you would commit to us in phase 2 is kind of a similar situation of take or pay. For us to work out our math, you're going to guarantee that you're going to buy 2 million gallons a day for X number of years. We, as your partner, are going to make sure this all makes sense. If in 5 years or 10 years you don't want that anymore, we still have to pay off the plant. So we just figure out a way to buy out.
So it'll be a take or pay, basically, on the water.
Yes, sir. The unique thing here is the option that if you think we're too extravagant or you don't like us, you can buy the plant and do it yourself. Nobody's going to build your plant without some protection.
Right, I was just trying to get everything clear.
Yep.
It's a lot to comprehend for me in such a short period of time.
It is. I wish we had more time, but we're running out of water.
Anybody else? Yeah.
Is the money that we've already spent gonna help you on phase 1? Is it gonna make phase 1 your dollars lay out less than?
It is. It is. We have to validate it. You've had a lot of good work done. And we don't want to just take that and say, here it is, but we're going to double check it and verify it and take all that historical stuff, the things that are going on out in Canute right now, verify those sample results and make sure we can treat that water.
The geoprobes at the golf course, things like that. Wow, yeah.
Yeah, I make a statement. Burns and Mack built the new gas plant that was just been completed out by Butler. Most professional people I've ever seen. They're very impressive, the way they tended to things and planned ahead. Personally, we've got to do something. This bunch of professionals looks to me like a good place to go and speed up the operation.
Yes, sir. Appreciate that comment. All right. Yes.
I would just like to say, and I think the people need to realize, we need the water. When we get to $180,000, that's pretty well going to tell us, yes, it's there, and they're going to say, yes, we can provide it and feed it for you. So right now, if whatever we say, if we give these people a go-ahead, the city's only out $180,000 for phase one. We got to have phase one, and we need it as quick as possible.
Your statement's right, the amount's wrong. See, I'm honest. I'm not gonna let that go. Phase one is 575 plus 180. And the 180 is for two things that you need anyway. The hydraulic model and fixing the well at the golf course.
But it could be less than that.
Now, everybody else knows, I want you to know that. I knew the right number. That make sense?
Everybody else?
Well, it just seems like we spend an awful lot of money, and as has been said before, we haven't got a drop yet. So apparently, you are our best people for the job to proceed ahead. And I don't think there's any time to wait, as far as I'm concerned, and I'm a property owner in the city of Clinton, lived here all my life. We need to get started and get it done. We've already been a couple of years and nothing's happened. So I think at this time, you are our best that's available to proceed with this project.
I appreciate that.
The bill, phase one could be $765,000? Something in that order.
Yes, sir. The ball cap back there.
We keep looking at that bottom line, 180.
Yeah, no, it's those two put together.
That-
Yes, sir.
Years ago, the city used to say they had a backup at Sayer. Is that not available anymore?
Sager?
I'm not aware of anything to say, or we have.
I always heard we had spring water over there or something.
Well, you're probably thinking we had a well built at Burns Flat at one time.
All right, anybody else? I guess it's time to do our jobs and vote our minds. Do we have a motion to move ahead with phase one with Severn Trent and this group?
I would make the motion that we move ahead with phase one to set up in their agreement.
Do we have a second?
Yes.
Trustee Rudolph?
Yes.
Trustee Semin?
Yes.
Trustee Lowry?
Yes.
Trustee Hulen?
Yes.
And Chairman?
Yes, ma'am. All right. Lori's there. Thank you.
I appreciate your hard work.
Yes.
I'd like to thank Danny George for the hard work that he's done on this, because actually Danny kind of helped put the team together.
Right. Action item B, request, consider request for qualifications submitted by engineering firms. I don't agree.
Council, basically, I would suggest you table these, because if you do not like phase one, you have the ability to come back to these engineers and begin the process with potentially one of them. So I wouldn't totally reject their proposal, but in fact, table them, and you may, at a later date, use them when you say the right.
Such a motion?
I so move.
Second.
Trustee Lowry,
Yes.
trustee Rudolph,
Yeah.
trustee Sneed,
Yes.
trustee Huben.
Yes.
And Chairman.
Yes, ma'am. Trustee reports. Hearing none, city manager's report, Steve.
Well, Ed kind of let the cat out of the bag. We did get information today. I talked to Dan Price with the new, in 2 wells at 350 gallons a minute on the pump test. That's 500,000 gallons a day. And they potentially have some additional wells they believe we could bring online to get us to that 1 million gallons. Jeremy has tested those 2 wells, sent those off. We expect within 3 weeks we should have that information back to know the quality, which is you talk about, you know, we're a little nervous about the nitrates in the air, but we'll know officially all the chemistry here in about 3 weeks. So, and we'll be providing that information to the team now to begin that process and value.
I think what I will check with Chesapeake and see where they get that pipe, around Halifax. Probably just, we get that done, probably ready for a month, see how it's gonna work.
Seven Tracy, Charles.
Does that work?
Yeah, okay, yes. Okay, we don't have to worry about things like
Does
that.
it work pretty well? I mean, it works well.
All right, any other, Steve?
Yeah, one other thing, I'd like, GeoProbe, they're scheduled tomorrow, they'll be out here tomorrow on noon to do the spinal cord GeoProbes, they'll be out here, so they will, and obviously that information will get back pretty, within a week or so, about it to you as well, so, we'll be moving on that, continue that. So,
Did that include the water test?
now, you have the initial water test, which they're gonna validate, and I think do an additional one on that well at the golf course. But these are just the 4 additional probes to provide information on potentially where potential other test wells could go, that they'll review and decide.
Audience participation,
That'll be,
audience participation? Hearing none, consider a motion to adjourn this portion of the meeting.
Second.
Trustee Lowry,
Yes.
trustee Huben.
Yes.
Trustee Rudolph,
Yes.
trustee Sneed, and Chairman.
Yes, ma'am. Proceed to the airport authority agenda. Now consider a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Trustee Huben.
Yes.
Trustee Rudolph,
Yes.
trustee Lowry, trustee Sneed, and Chairman.
Yes, ma'am. Action item A, consider bids on fencing and gate project at our airport. Yeah,
I've not heard that this week.
we only had 5. Steve, you want to talk about that? You want to talk about
I should
this?
like to have a
I'm sorry.
Toby, Cobb Engineering is our engineer on the airport, and walk you through the project.
The project will consist of installing chain link fencing along both sides of the airport entrance road, and then along the west side of the airport property south of the entrance road, and then along the entire south line. This will be phase 1 of the multi-phase project. The primary reason that we have it phased is because of the amount of funds that are available to the city at the current time. We've been told by FAA that we've got to get the fence done before they allow us to do some other types of projects at the airport, so that's why it's a high priority to get that. On your question about the bidders that are on the tabulation of bids, those are all the bidders that attended the mandatory pre-bid meeting, so there may be more on there than we actually have bids.
Well, it's good to have that meeting.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, we had a great turnout, that's probably one of the largest pre-bids.
And what was the vote percentage? FAA picks up what percentage?
It's a 90-10 split, yeah.
That picks for 9. Good deal for
It's
us.
good deal, but you have to keep on doing this, so you get other things.
Right, but they knock us off nothing else.
Yeah, we're gonna keep our regional status, as we continue to be part of the process.
Okay, so first I'm gonna go ahead and open up the engineer estimate. So is this, okay, engineer estimate, so we hope that all the bids are replaced.
We hope I'm not a little bit, because I don't want to.
Yeah, right, that's never a good thing. Okay, engineer estimate base bid, $210,950. Sound right, over. All right. First bid is from American Fence Company. $199,947.60. And that's from American Bids Company. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, 947.60. 199,947.60. All right. Pressure there. The next bid we have is from Carnahan White LLC. Base bid $170,847 even. $170,847 even. Okay. That was from Carnahan White. The next is from Oakley Fence Company out of Stillwater.
Yes, last week.
Springfield, Missouri. Signed by Paul S. Brown. The base bid from Oakley Fence Company out of Stillwater is $218,624. That's an Oakley Fence Company, Oakley Fence Company from Stillwater. And the last we have is Quality Fence Company from Walters, Oklahoma. Is this the last?
No.
Second to last. And this is for $187,560, $187,560.75. $187,560.75. And the last. This is and this one comes from Robinson Fence Company, out of Springfield also. It's like they want to make sure it got here. This is for $191,512.50, $191,512.50, and that's from Robinson Fence Company, out of Springfield, Missouri also. Okay, everybody, if you want to say anything?
We recommend for the engineering staff to review.
I would that we prefer this and the staff and the engineer to review.
I'll second that motion.
Trustee Rudolph?
Yes.
Trustee Huber?
Yes.
Trustee Valerie?
Yes.
Trustee Sneed?
Yes.
And Chairman?
Yes. Next note. Trustee reports regarding the airport authority. Steve, engineer's report. Audience participation regarding the airport authority. Hearing none, consider a motion to adjourn the meeting regarding the airport authority.
Trustee Sneed?
Yes.
Trustee Huber?
Yes.
Trustee Valerie?
Yes.
Trustee Rudolph?
Yes.
And Chairman?
Yes. Proceed to the solid waste authority agenda. Now consider a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Stop.
Trustee Huber?
Yes.
Trustee Sneed?
Yes.
Trustee Valerie? Trustee Randolph.
Yes.
And Chair.
Yes. Consider bids, action item A, consider bids on a solid waste truck packed waste fee.
Council, this is a budget item, for them this year. Truck impact of
Already budgeted.
Three bidders, four bids.
All right.
What do you think it should come?
You can ask me that, and I walked out of my office, I believe it's 150, correctly. Deborah?
I was thinking it was 185.
25,
Uh-huh.
25.
No, bro, it's come nice to have bids come
It's
in
under this.
under this.
Yeah, we got that one. That we did. First bid, again, is under the estimates from Colin, K&N, out of Iowa. And the bid is $182,339 even. $182,339.00. That's from Colin, K&N, from Iowa. Greenberg, Iowa. Oh, Guttenberg. I was thinking
They submitted two bids.
Guttenberg. Follow me, everybody? I don't feel sorry for you. Yeah. All right, the next bid we have is from J&R Equipment LLC out of Oklahoma City. So we have two bids for them. So open up their first one right now. $196,965 even. $196,965. $196,965. That's from JR Equipment out of Oklahoma City. Second bid from the same entity. $197,800 even. They're giving us a $1,200 trade-in value on the truck, on a 97 round body. Perhaps that was the reason for the second. Okay. $197,800 total bid. That's from the same people, J&R. Yeah, I want to see. That's one.
That's fine.
That's one. And this was from Southwestern Equipment, to Justin, Texas. They go by SEC, it looks like something. $157,861. What? Yeah, $157,861. Is that right, Steve? Am I reading those right?
Yeah, that's right. But we'd like to review them though. Like
Yeah.
Robert, myself, and Donald will review those, to make sure they're meeting all the specs.
Yeah.
Because that is a very low number, so we'd like to make sure that they put the correct information.
There are lots of numbers on this.
Well, I think that's a good idea. Make a motion we refer these bids to the city staff, come back with a recommendation at the next meeting.
That was the best.
Yeah, I'll second.
Trustee Randolph.
Yes.
Trustee Simi.
Yes.
Trustee Robert. Trustee Huber.
Yes.
And Chair.
Trustee reports, regarding solid waste authority. Hearing none. Steve? Your report?
Nothing further.
Audience participation? We're on the solid waste authority. Is there a motion to adjourn the solid waste authority meeting?
Make that motion.
Second.
Trustee Goodwin?
Yes.
Trustee Sine?
Yes.
Trustee Lauer?
Yes.
Trustee Rudolph?
Yes.
And Chairman?
Yes. Proceed to the city council agenda. Now consider a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Goodwin?
Yes.
Councilman Sine? Councilman Rudolph?
Yes.
Councilman Lowry?
Yes.
And Mayor?
Yes. On to the vote I called for so long ago. Action item A, orders number 951 regarding the annexation of Mr. Service property. Anybody want to?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, take your report.
I second that motion.
There you go.
Councilman Goodwin?
Yes.
Councilman Rudolph?
Yes.
Councilman Lowry?
Yes.
Councilman Sine?
Yes.
And Mayor?
Yes. Action item B, consider bids on an oil and gas lease.
Council, we've got 99.7 mineral acres out by the lake, Glen Lake. So we've been approached by a couple, we did get one bid, looks like, and hoping to see what we get here. You can either, that Councilman Rudolph was able to help us with putting this together.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
We have a minimum.
You got a minute.
Got a minimum. That was the bid on it. Require a minimum bid.
There you go. And we got a bid. So hopefully they can read.
She's right here, very swell.
Oh, everyone, sorry about that. Yes, sir. Shouldn't be scared.
Councilman, I'm different than most here tonight. I'm offering money.
Oh, really?
Thank you.
Touche. Yes, sir, and his bid is for $1,750 an acre. And he,
Good deal. That's great.
and he gave us a 10%, what is it, argument?
We also have some acreage in the adjoining section that I need to work on. And they're also interested in leasing it too. You'll need a little bit of time to check title, but he has accepted our lease now.
All right.
Acres. How many acres?
99.5.
Well, we just,
I have to, might as well say it, $175,000.
Now, Councilman, may I say, we'll get our title examined, make sure there's good, clean title, and then I'll interact with Councilman Rudolph.
Well, you can get with the city manager.
Or the city manager as to, the exchange of an executed lease for payment.
all right.
We'll go ahead and fix the lease up.
Okay.
Do we need to refer this back also, or?
No, I think you should accept.
Okay. Is there a motion to go ahead and accept this bid?
That's so good.
Second.
Councilman Lowry?
Yes.
Councilman Goodwin?
Yes.
Councilman Rudolph?
Yes.
Councilman Sine?
Yes.
And Mayor?
Yes. Action item C, election of 3 trustees to OMAG. Thanks.
Thank you.
I make the recommendation that we just go with the same ones that have been on here in the past. So that's what's gonna happen anyway.
Yeah.
Manager Hara, treasurer Duncan, and city manager Collins. They're on their name. I recommend that we vote for them.
We have a second?
I'll second that.
Councilman Rudolph?
Yes.
Councilman Lowry?
Yes.
Councilman Sine?
Yes.
Councilman Goodwin?
Yes.
And Mayor?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Mr. Chance, please. Council reports. City manager's report.
Council, talked to the contractor down Chapel Road, it's moving well, he tells us, and working with Donald Webb, it's a NODOT project, but we still stay involved with that. We were looking to the housing addition on possibly removing the lift station. However, we found it was actually more expensive due to the shoring, so we're going to go back to the lift station effort. It's going to be actually less expensive to do that. So we'll work with Joe, Donald's working with Joe Ridley on that, and we'll continue that effort. Street overlay is happening all over town, and so we continue that effort. And you also see Gary Boulevard, our annual ODOT panels are being replaced. We hope to have a budget to you by Friday. You're not going to make it. We're behind on that. We will have it to you mid next week, and then we will schedule something at your convenience to have a budget workshop, but we will not have it. We're running behind, working on this water option and trying to get some other things out. So we're behind on that. We apologize. I was hoping to have that to you by Friday, but we will have it to you by mid next week, we hope. And for your review, and schedule some time. It's good for you at your convenience for a workshop. And last but not least, I met with the mayor before the meeting, and I do this with mixed feelings, but I have submitted my 30-day resignation. I have taken a new position, and so the 6th of June, I'll be moving on. Unfortunately, I won't be able to work with these guys, but I'm extremely happy that a water plan is in place. I appreciate what they've done, and I appreciate your efforts to work with me, and I really thank the staff that me and my family are moving on to a new adventure. Thank you.
Steve, with PSO, how was it with the lights?
Well, that's a good question. I actually have on the list and I missed it. We have got some of the lights at the McDonald's area on. We met with them last week. They had some scheduled time to get I-40 resolved, but due to the wind, they had to push that back a few weeks. So they've been waiting on poles. They have those. We have an electrician lined up to wrap up some of the areas around the McDonald's area, Kmart exit. So we expect the next few weeks all that to be resolved. And we had a good powwow. We sat down with PSO last week and made sure that our communication was better and improved. And that with some new people, new faces, they have a new rep, but we got a new public works director and myself. So, but we got a good connection there. So those should be solved here pretty quick.
All right. Anything else, Steve?
I have nothing else.
Yes, it was very poignant. Audience participation?
I'd like to make a comment.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
First, that Steve, I think you've done us a good job. Appreciate you. I don't think the audience should have to sit out here and sweat. Now, I don't know how you people are up there. It's hot out here. And we shouldn't have to suffer to come to the meeting.
You should try sitting here.
No water, no air.
Any other audience participation?
water for sweat.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I just had a question, if anything's being done about the parking in the yards. I talked to the mayor, or to the city manager about a month ago about that. Are they enforcing it or not?
Chief just snuck out a little bit ago, but yes, my code enforcement and police chief, we had a meeting, and they are out enforcing that and making sure that in appropriate areas they do not park in yards. So we are enforcing that. If you have any additional areas that you're seeing, let me know. I'll pass that along to both of them. But as far as I know, we made an emphasis to make sure to stop that where we could.
And when you say where we could, meaning that some of the streets are so small we can't get emergency vehicles by that, in the parking shop.
Some areas we have to, just like Maker Edition, it's just not, we have to be some leniency in that area. They mentioned areas like 10th Street. We agree with those areas. Obviously, it's a high profile area to our community, but some areas we have to have some leniency because we wouldn't be able to get anything, emergency vehicles down that street. So that's an unfortunate, though. We're trying to work with folks, and we're warnings first. We're trying to, be cautious, but we will ticket those folks who are continue to violate.
Still, that's bad news. I thought it was making the school joke.
I apologize.
That's great. And then you run it down the mayor first, so he let me get on the
Yeah, believe me. Yeah.
Well, I'm a little shocked that you're leaving, but we need, if you're leaving when?
My 30-day notice, my last day will be the 6th, Friday the 6th of June. And I will make sure the budget is completed. I'll send you a PDF of the resignation, and I'll make sure to work with these folks, and I'll make sure the transition with Lisa and their staff to make sure we get through everything and provide them with the information needed. So, and I'm available after that if needed, if something that be out there.
So we need to, Lisa needs to get some information out to us so that we can start advertising for the city manager.
How do we handle that?
We need to get the information out to all council members so we can start looking at it.
Quite a minute. Consider any other audience participation? Consider a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bielan?
Yes.
Councilman Sneed? Councilman Riley? Councilman Rodoff?
Yes.
And Mayor.